In today's video, we're going to talk about going into the room. I got a lot of YouTube comments from my previous video where I talked about superior thinking. And now we're going to go in a sense, part two. I'm going to give you a roadmap on what you need to do. Like, I'm going to give you a roadmap on what you need to do to get to that next level of whatever you're trying to do in your life. But for the purposes of this channel, I'm going to keep it about business, on making more money. But I'm going to show you something that I developed that worked amazing for me. And I believe that it's going to help you. I know it's going to help you because whenever I get frustrated, whenever I get stuck, whenever things seem like they're just not going to work out, I utilize what I'm about to share with you, and it just works wonders. As a matter of fact, it's like you materialize. People talk about positive affirmations and how you can materialize things into your life. This is exactly the way that I've been able to do it, and I want to share it with you. First, I want to talk about something, though, that I believe is the foundation of why people have problems moving forward in their life, especially when it comes to business, is that there's a lot of confusion out there. There's a lot of books, religious books. There's a lot of regular business books, and it's totally confusing people. I'm going to give you a baseline on that will allow you to be able to move forward in your life without frustration, without all of the confusion and the misconceptions. Number one, the first thing is that you're going to have to test things. You don't need to believe me, and I'm not here to convince you to believe me. What you need to do is you need to test things. If I tell you something to do, you need to test it for yourself. And if you read something and someone has to interpret what that means for you or what that's supposed to mean when they could have just clearly wrote it in that book, you need to be aware that that is an interpretation, that could potentially not be what was supposedly interpreted. So be very careful. You can find yourself confused, frustrated, because you do not have an understanding within yourself on what to do. And that's the problem with a lot of people right now. And that could potentially be the problem with you being able to move forward with success. So first, I want to talk about that. When I talked about go into the room, and I talked about where you detach your mental folder, where the mental folder is all the past experiences, good or bad, that's where they're all stored. And for the purposes, you're trying to get to a financial goal. And so you have to detach from all of the stuff that happened in the past. You have to detach from some of the people in your life. And then the goal is the goal. That means that whatever the goal is, that's what you're moving towards to get. But you might make some adjustments as you move forward. But the goal stays the goal. And then you're going to upgrade your identity. See, where you're at right now in your life with your life experiences, the amount of money you make, what you think you can and can't do, that's who you identify as. You need to, as you move forward, you will upgrade your identity. And people will see that you've upgraded your identity because they're going to say you've changed. Or people who don't want to see you change are going to say, who do you think you are? That's how they identify it. And I gave some examples. People who are born again Christians, they read it, get baptized, or start going to church, and all of a sudden they change their identity. They're a good person now. Everybody's supposed to just believe it. But obviously people don't fully believe it. They have to prove it to people. But in their own mind, they've changed like overnight. I talked about inventors where they invented something. It didn't work. They kept inventing new things, and then all of a sudden something worked. But in their mind, the goal was, I'm an inventor and I'm going to invent things. And then I talked about musicians who struggled their whole life and then they wrote that hit song. And then creators, like people that are right here on YouTube that are trying to be a creator, to do things. They try some stuff, it don't work. All of a sudden they do something and they go viral. So now let's move forward here. I'm going to show you exactly something that I did. This is something that I've actually done to build one of my companies, and it's actually the foundation of how I move forward with all of my companies. And it goes back to the theory. It goes, and it's really not a theory. This is really the truth. I've consulted with attorneys, cell phone store owners, grocery store owners, hair shop owners, insurance agents, web development companies, web design companies, computer companies. I've consulted with all of them, and I would tell all of them, the business that you're in the business of, first, advertising. So no matter what business you do, the first business that you're in is in the advertising business. So I'm going to show you something. I'm not going to go into detail about all the pieces of it, but I'm going to show you something that I actually wrote over and over and over and over again. And it goes into going into the room that I talked about. And I actually say, I was thinking I should make up some fancy word for it. But then that goes into the problem of not understanding. If I was to come up with some fancy word at the beginning and say the success room, well, what is the success room? What type of success? No. But if I say go into the room, you know what going into the room means. That means you go into that room. So I just kept it like it was. Everybody understands going into the room. Now, when I was building the business, as a matter of fact, that business was struggling when I came up with this. When I was building that business, I had to come up with a system that was going to be able to get customers. And I put a system in place really based off of I saw a post, like one of those little black posts on Facebook, the black box with the white words in there. I don't even remember who posted that. But the person just said, you got to pick a platform, figure out how to get leads from that platform, figure out how to follow up with those people on the platform, and then figure out how to close sales with the people from that platform. And then from there, you can scale from that platform, and you can take that same idea to other platforms. It wasn't no course. He wasn't selling anything. It was not. That was all he said. And I took that and I was like, I'm gonna just do exactly what that person said. And now this is what goes to the test. He told, I do remember it was a guy. He said to do that, and what I did is I just said, okay, I'm gonna do exactly that, but I'm gonna test it. I'm gonna test it. Now, so what I did is I said, okay, I did all of the steps that he talked about, but then I ran into a problem because I wasn't getting success from it at the beginning. I wasn't getting success from it at the beginning. And so this is what I did. This is the whole, get your pen and paper out, because this is the part of the video that you have to understand fully. And as a matter of fact, what I want you to do right now is I want you to stand up right now. Stand up. I want to put your hands in the air like a victory, like you just won. I want you to start feeling good about yourself. If you're not feeling good right now, I want you to just pretend. Can you do that just for a moment? Pretend that whatever you want to happen with your business or in your personal life, that it is about to happen, that it has already happened. How would you be feeling if that was to happen? Like, just imagine if whatever you wanted already, you had it in your life. How would you be feeling right now? How would you be feeling right now? Now, the reason why I had you do that is because that is exactly what I learned when I was putting this into action on the adjustments that I made. Now, I didn't make adjustments to the overall goal, which was to bring in customers for that business. But what I did do is I started imagining each step in my mind. So rather than, because it wasn't working at the time, it wasn't working, but I could see that it could potentially work from that gentleman's advice, is that I just said, okay, I'm going to imagine, and this will help you not run into where you try to do something and then all of a sudden you start to slow down, and then all of a sudden it just disappears, it evaporates, and then you're on to something else. This is how you will be able to stick with the plan until you know for sure it's going to work or it's not going to work. And let me tell you something. The plan that I put into place did not start to even show that it was going to work until 7 days. And there's a lot of people that would quit something if it didn't work in 7 days, but it didn't turn around in revenue to where it was something substantial until 3 months later. So just think, if I would have just quit on day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 7, day 30, day 60, because it took 3 months. But by that time, I started to see after 7 days, I started to see that this was going to be something. It wasn't there in revenue, but the first goal, or the like, if you were to say what's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, the first phase was showing some good things happening for the business, which was bringing people in to be customers. So now what I started to do, though, when I started to get a little bit frustrated to start saying maybe this stuff isn't going to work, is I started to imagine each of the steps in my mind. I would imagine what I had to do with step 1. I would imagine what I had to do with step 2. I would imagine what I had to do with step 3. And I imagined making the money. Now, I can tell you, when I imagined making the money, this is what I put in my mind. So it was something concrete that I could visualize, but also be able to see when it started to happen. Is I started to imagine the emails that said because this is exactly what the emails say. That's exactly what the emails would say when we made a sale. It said, you made a sale. So I started visualizing in my mind this step, this step, this step, and this step, and especially that step, you've made a sale. It was in my mind. I would visualize it. So if you think about it, do you want to stay frustrated and focus on the things that are not happening, that are, not making sales, not generating leads, whatever that is? Do you want to stay in that frustrated mindset, or do you want to give yourself something? What I said, get into that room, go into that room. What do we do in that room? We get rid of all of the senses, we get rid of all the anxiety, the worry. We focus on this. So I focused on that in my mind. But let me tell you, you cannot just depend on focusing on that in your mind, because our minds are all over the place sometimes. So you focus as much as you can with this in your mind. I would suggest that you do it throughout the day, and especially try to do it when you're about to go to bed. Give this something in your subconscious mind to work with. And it can be so simple. You just imagine for me, this is what I was doing. So I'm just going to tell you what I was doing. This is real. The ads that were generating leads, the follow-up system I put in place to follow up on the leads, the sales page that I put in place for people to see what I had to offer for that business, and the emails coming in with people going ahead and buying that service. You've made a sale. Those emails were just flowing in. Then, but because the mind can get crowded, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that you got to do. I would do this, and I encourage you to do it. Is on my tablet. Now, if you don't have a tablet, do it on a piece of paper. On my tablet, you want to know what I did? Is I drew this out all the time. On my tablet, I got this where if someone was to look at it, it'd be like, why are you just writing that over and over and over and over and over again? The same thing. Why are you doing that over? Because it brings up the belief. It lets me know what the plan of action I'm going in is. It gives me the focus so I can get away from any negative feelings, anxieties, worries, all of that. It pushes that aside because it gives me something mechanically that I can actually do with my body. Because nothing's going to happen unless you get the body involved. And think about it. If you're making money and you got all of these sales coming in, what are you going to do with your body? Is it going to just sit there like this and you're going to have your mind all excited? No, you're going to be excited as a person with your body. You're going to be like, I'm making money. I'm going to the bank. I'm going to pull out $10,000 to go do some stuff. We're making $100,000 a month, whatever that amount is. But your body, you're going to be doing all of this stuff. And you're going to change as a person. You're going to identify as a person who does that. Maybe you'll be in a suit. Maybe you won't. But that's going to be your decision. But the lesson in it is that the body is going to be involved. So why not get the body involved early? Because when you get the body involved early, you start telling the body, we're about to make some changes with who we identify with. We identify with this. So now I'm going to run this in reverse. So real quick, I wrote this over and over. So I was like this. And I remember drawing the arrow. I would do this over and over. I didn't write that. I just imagined the money. That's what this is, money. I just said that in my mind, sales. That's sales, sales, sales. And then later, I was looking at when I was looking at, before this video, what did some of the stuff that I maybe extended on is I started saying about the ads, following up. Like I would write little bitty notes, but it basically was just this, writing this over and over and over again. Like down my tablet, over and over and over and over and over again. I was writing that. Think about that. If you do that, what else can you think about? Are you going to write this good stuff that's going to happen, that you want to happen, and then think about the bad stuff? No, you're going to be in the right frame of mind. So you got the body and the mind working together. But let's put this all together real quick. And I'm going to take a quick drink. Take a quick drink of my coffee. All right. If you are making more money, you got emails coming in every day saying you've made a sale. So we're working from the outcome. The outcome, the goal has been achieved. And someone walked up to you, maybe a family member, and they said, how did you do it? Do you think that you would clearly be able to tell them, I did this, 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 and it equaled this? Yes, you would. Yes, you would. So all you're doing is practicing for that day that will happen. Because when someone comes up and asks you, just like people ask me, and I'm like, I do this, 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 and this. And it just flows right. They know, like, have you ever asked someone a question and you're like, well, I'm not too sure. Something in the back of your mind was like, I'm not too sure that either it's true or that person believes that what they told me is true. That usually happens because what the person told you, they don't truly believe. Let me ask you this question, the things that you truly believe, that you have tested, would you have a hard time explaining that to someone else? If you have really done something and you really tested it and you really had the outcome, you won't have problems describing that to other people because it is, number one, true for you. And number two, it is true what you're telling them or instructing them to do. And it will actually be very clear. Like when I give this explanation, when I give this illustration, I call it an illustration because have you ever opened up a box? Maybe you bought a table from the furniture store, you have to put it together, or a desk, and it has the illustrations of the desk on you. It says, get these screws, put it right here, get those screws, put it right there. And it starts to come together as a full picture. This is the same thing. This is an illustration. And just like those tables, there are some people or desks that get those instructions, see those illustrations, and they can't put it together. And the reason why they can't put it together because they can't see the end result. But if you can see the end result, every one of us, including yourself, anything that you've put together, you already saw the end result in your mind. You're actually putting it together to hurry up to get to the end result in your mind. You're hurrying up to put it together to get the end result in your mind. And something crazy happened. This is something that I found out that might, maybe you've thought about this before. In my office, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we got about 30 office chairs in here in my office. Something that I didn't even understand until it happened was that I was putting together, me and my wife were putting together some of the chairs when we got this office. And it had the illustration, all of the instructions on putting the table together, putting the chairs together. And then I did it once and I knew how to do it the other times. And in my own mind, I thought that I was gonna have to use the instructions every time, but I didn't have to. This is the same thing right here, is that you're gonna know this back and forth. When you know it back and forth and you got your body moving in the right direction, you're gonna be very successful. So what I want you to do is I want you to post your questions and comments. I want you to tell me what you think about this video. I want you to really do the homework. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Post your questions and comments. Thank you for your time. This is Stephen A. Williams with Making Money with Stephen A. Williams here on